Starting a web design agency is so much better than being a freelance web designer. And I'm going to tell you exactly why that's not true. And if you're anything like me, you're probably struggling to decide between those two right now. That's why in this video, you're going to find out exactly if you should start a web design agency or if you should work as a freelance web designer and with which one you'll be able to make more money. I split this into 5 categories: time, clients, service, difficulty, and of course, income. Also, we have a free private Discord community where we go on Q&A calls. So if you have any questions about anything about web design or running an agency, join, link is down below. And so as you can see on the left, we have agency with pros and cons for that. And on the right, we have the freelance option, again, with pros and cons or just general points, and also some smaller illustrations to portray some of the points a bit better. So time. As an agency, this is probably the main reason people go from freelancing to starting an agency, is to have more time freedom. And that comes with delegating your work. As I mentioned earlier, with an agency, your role is not doing all of the service delivery. Instead, you are the manager, which means you will hire people or outsource your work to other people and will therefore be more of the manager inside the business, which means you're going to be spending less time actually doing the service fulfillment, but instead getting new clients, onboarding them, doing the sales processes, or just relaxing a bit more. There is a slight negative side with that, and that is that you have slightly less flexibility. Again, this is very slightly, but because you do have a team that you have to manage, even though it is maybe a couple minutes per day or just an hour or two per week or month, you do still have to be in touch with them. And so it's harder for you to just say, okay, for 2 weeks, I'm going to take completely off and I'm going to go to a mountain retreat and not be in contact with anybody. When you do have a team, that is a bit harder to do because you do have to stay in contact with them slightly, especially in the beginning. Once you've built this out, maybe over the next 2 years, and you've got sub-managers that can do everything for you, then that dream life can truly be yours. But in the beginning, especially, it is going to be a little bit difficult. And with that, as a freelancer, you have some more flexibility, which means if for 2 weeks or for a complete month, you say, okay, I have enough money for this year, I just want to go to the beach and do nothing, you don't have to talk to anybody. Of course, you need to make sure that your clients are set up, that they don't need any help in that time period. But other than them, you don't need to take care of any team members, which means you have some slight more flexibility. However, because you are the only person, that means you have less time freedom. And that is because as a freelancer, you are the business. You're not just designing or developing, you're also creating the invoices, doing sales calls, reaching out to potential new clients, posting to social media, and so on and so on. And so overall, if I would have to give a winner, I would say that the agency side has some more benefits. And so if time freedom is really what you want to go after, then I think the agency route would be something to consider. And so with this little illustration here, we can see that 2 people are managing the time between each other. So you could be doing the sales calls whilst your team members are doing the fulfillment side. And as a freelancer, you're there by yourself managing everything and trying to stay on top of every single day and all the tasks that need to get done throughout the week. So let's move on to clients. And a lot of you are probably wondering what type of clients you'll be able to work with if you're just a freelancer or if you work as a big agency. But regardless if you're a freelancer or running an agency, there's one thing that every single one of you is going to need, and that is an all-in-one, easy-to-use client management software where you can onboard and manage new clients, such as today's video sponsor, Client Manager. But instead of just telling you about all the amazing features that Client Manager has, I thought I'd show you just how easy to use this is. And so this is your dashboard. And the first thing you're going to do is go into the integrated CRM, where if you just close a client on a sales call, you're going to now move it up into the clients list and then click on it and convert into client. Now it shows up here in the client dashboard where you can start off by creating and sending proposals, contracts, one-off or monthly recurring invoices, which they can sign and pay all on one platform. After that, you can send them an onboarding form where they can fill out information and upload images and files that you can directly manage here in the assets folder. You can also invite and manage team members, track time and tasks, integrate your Google Calendar, where you'll soon be able to schedule meetings with clients. And something that every one of you wants is you'll have your own client portal. Plus other features such as Zapier integration, white label services, automated emails, live chat, and so much more. So if you want one platform to manage everything about your business and your clients, then Client Manager is for you. And not only do you get a 7-day free trial, but if you use the code PAT20 at checkout, you'll also get 20% off. Thanks again to Client Manager, and now back to the video. Naturally, as an agency, you'll be able to take on larger clients because you have that bigger team to facilitate their needs and goals. And you also won't feel as pressure to deliver because you're not the one doing all of the work. Instead, you have a couple of team members maybe taking on the design aspect, and then a whole team doing just development, plus maybe some content management and even marketing. Something also to consider is that people and businesses will have less bias towards you because you or your face won't be directly correlated or linked with that business. Whether that be a positive or negative thing for you, that's just something that you would have to think about, because you might also want to build a personal brand where your face or your name is part of the business. Now, as a freelancer, you might not get those huge clients and projects. However, some businesses and industries actually prefer to work with freelancers, just because they feel that there is more transparency with them, as they are directly working with one person and not a very big agency that has a business name instead of faces. And also you have a more personal relationship with the client, which is something that I really enjoyed. And I think when starting out in business, this can really benefit you for the long term, as sometimes just, business relationships can turn into lifelong business partners, or maybe even start some ventures together. And again, these illustrations, I think, portray that pretty well. Here it's just one-on-one with each other, and then as an agency you have more of a team working together. But I think this is also more of a personal preference, so you can decide which one you would prefer. So then let's go to services. With an agency, you of course will have the capacity to offer more service options. That's naturally coming with a bigger team that will probably have more skill sets than just yourself. And so you can diversify from just web design and development and go into marketing, for example. Whether that be social media marketing or Google and email marketing campaigns, that's really for you to decide. And I think this also depends on the industry and niche that you go into, as you can start off with just web design and development. And then once you've figured out a solution for the pain problems that your industry has, you can really curate an amazing offer by adding different services together. However, by offering more services and having a larger team to handle, maintaining quality can be a little bit more difficult, especially in the beginning, until you found the right people that are going to stay with you longer term. And this is why creating SOPs is super important for your team members, and in order to maintain that quality, not just in the beginning, but for the long term, where you'll hopefully be able to take hands completely off the business and be rest assured that your team members know exactly what to deliver, because they have the SOPs, the strategies, and the processes to deliver the best results for your clients. As a freelancer, the pro, in my opinion, is that this is your work. When somebody sees your designs or your website, they know that it is you. It's not some other designer or team member. This is your work, and it really allows you to build your personal brand and show off your skills as a person and as a professional. And this is why a lot of freelancers who are at the top of their game are able to charge almost as much as an agency would for just a design, because they are the best at what they do and they've built up their name and reputation with that. The biggest downside, of course, though, is that you will have less capacity to deliver services, and that is mainly because of your time. As I mentioned earlier, you are the entire business, which means whilst you are doing the design, you can't be hopping on sales calls. You can only do one task at a time, and that will limit your output and sooner or later potentially also burn you out. And so again, here you can see with the agency, you have many people working at the same time on different tasks, where here as a single person, you're trying to do, maybe YouTube content strategy, creating the designs, creating the wireframes, hopping on sales meetings, and it can get overwhelming sometimes. And so with that, let's then go to difficulty. With the agency, in my opinion, this is easier once set up, and with freelance, it's easier in the beginning. Because when you're starting out as a freelancer, you're the only person that you need to deal, except for, of course, clients. And so you don't need to worry about anybody else. You just need to worry about you and your work. And I think that could help you when just starting out. And with an agency, the main skill set is managing people compared to freelance, where you have to manage roles. And this again, I think comes down to personal preference. Some of you might be much better at managing people and making sure that everything is delegated correctly. And some of you might be really bad at that, but have a lot of skill sets yourself and would much rather take on all of the roles yourself in order to not have to deal with people. And so if you're more of a people person, then the agency might be more appealing to you compared to somebody who just wants to work by themselves. Then of course the freelance option is probably better for you. One thing I would say is that trying both these options is going to help you overall in the long term, because you'll be able to see both sides of the business. On the one hand, doing all of the work yourself, really getting nitty-gritty and understanding every aspect of the business and service delivery. And on the other hand, learning how to build a business, hire team members, outsource work, and really grow a business that can scale. And so let's move on to the topic that everyone wants to know, and that is income. With an agency, you of course have the capability of scaling much higher than you ever could as a freelancer. And it all comes down to the amount of time that you can spend working on the business instead of working inside the business, which is what you do as a freelancer. And that is what really allows you as an agency to eventually scale up to hundreds of thousands of dollars every month. The only downside of that is the higher you scale, the lower your profit margins will most probably become. And that is because you have so many other team members that you have to pay as well. And so compared to a freelancer that only has to pay himself, you just won't be able to get to those high profit margins. And of course, as a freelancer, being able to do all of the work yourself means that you can take home almost 100% of that money. However, with that, the money that you can make and the potential of your growth is directly correlated to your time and how much time you spend inside the business and not just on the business like you do when managing an agency. And that truly is the biggest pitfall or downside of being a freelancer. And that is that you are directly selling your time for money. And so with these illustrations, we can see that on the left with an agency, you are planting your money or your seeds for future growth. And as a freelancer, you are always going to be chasing that next level, making it harder and harder to scale and grow the business. But after looking at all the pros and cons for starting a web design agency and becoming a freelance web designer, it essentially all comes down to what do you want to do? Because most of you, when asking if you should start an agency or become a freelancer, you're not referring to the different business models, but instead what you want to know is when creating your social media accounts and reaching out to potential clients, should you be doing this as a personal brand or as a business? Or in other words, should you be referring to yourself as an individual freelancer or as a multi-person agency, regardless if you have a team or are outsourcing your work? Now, this of course depends if you're actually going to start an agency or work as a freelancer, but I just want to make sure that you understand that there is a difference between actually running an agency and just posting to social media with an agency name. I initially started out as a freelancer, and once I landed my first clients, I decided to transition into an agency as I realized that I was going to want to stay in the web design industry for a little longer and eventually build out my business into a comprehensive agency. And so if you're not too sure right now, I would start out as a freelancer and build a personal brand and then decide later on what you want to do. If you've already decided though, let me know in the comments if you're going to be a freelance web designer or if you've decided to actually start a web design agency, as I would really like to know how many people are going to go the individual route or who wants to take on the multi-person business side. If you liked the video, remember to like and subscribe, and don't forget to join our free private Discord community. Link is in the description, and remember to maximize your luck. Bye.